Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit of $200. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back. All from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the feature race at Aqueduct on Sunday. It's the Broadway for New York-bred fillies and mares. We're going 7/8 of a mile. This race is carded as the third. Let's take a peek at this field. It's not the biggest field in the world, but I think it's a pretty competitive race, and I think it goes beyond Bank Sting and Betsy Blue somewhat.
I won't disagree with that. I thought particularly if you're looking for alternatives to the two short prices, at least in my opinion, you're looking to the rail here. But we'll see. Bank Sting is just one of those fillies who's been good from the start, and it does feel like this is her distance, and she also likes this track. And Betsy Blue, whether you like her or not, Dan, she shows up and she runs every single time.
All she does is win races without much fanfare. Bank Sting's a little bit more of a horse that gets those figures that captures the attention. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race. Not expected to be a ton of early speed. You see the blue bar, which could favor horses on or near the early lead. The 1 November Rain isn't exactly a speed horse, but neither is the 4 Bank Sting, Mike. It's going to be very interesting to see how the jockeys play the break here, but I agree with Timeform US. They're probably not going to be blazing.
I agree with it too, and I think they got the two right horses going forward in here. You're right that neither one of them are necessarily speedballs, but they both do have tactical speed. And in a race like this, I feel like once their riders pull the PPs and look at this race, they both have to realize that it's going to pay dividends if they go forward from the gate.
The number 1 November Rain pulled off a big upset when she beat Bank Sting her last time against New York breds. That was 2 starts back in the Iroquois during the Belmont at Aqueduct meet. She was bumped a little bit at the start. She tracked on the outside. She was better than Bank Sting on that day. They shipped her down to Laurel Park to face fellow 3-year-olds in her most recent effort, and that was a disappointing start. Although the winner swaying to and fro is Sharp, a horse that came back to win the Willa on the Move at Laurel with a 94 buyer. A little bit of a freshening here for Kelly Breen, Mike.
Yeah, and she's still lightly raced enough, Dan, that I feel like you could maybe even project one more forward move from her. I mean, she was good as a 2-year-old, the stakes winner then, came back an improved horse last year. You mentioned the Iroquois 2-back where, personally, I know she was a big price there. I thought she beat Bank Sting fair and square in that race and just ran really well. I have a little trouble with the safely kept. Just when I go and take that race apart, Dan, I think you can probably speak more intelligently about that race than I can. I thought she was pretty disappointing in there, but she's bounced back before.
No, she didn't run well at all in that race, and she has to prove that she's a true stakes caliber filly facing horses like Betsy Blue and Bank Sting, older horses that are proven against open stakes competition, including Betsy Blue, who after she finished behind Bank Sting in the graded Gopher Juan 3-back, has come back and beat open competition in her last 2 races. Here's her most recent start, the Interborough. She is odds on in this race, and she pretty much runs like it, Mike. She's got work to do in the stretch. It's not like this pace scenario was extremely kind to her. Miss T2 went to the front, set solid enough fractions, but Betsy Blue just grinds them down like she usually does.
Yeah, she's a big favorite here, 1-5. She's supposed to win, and she'll eventually get it done here, Dan, without changing leads in the stretch, which isn't a habit of hers usually. I thought she won it, a little bit easier than maybe it would look on paper. Even though her figure regressed, I didn't think it was a fast pace. She was always on the outside in there and got the job done. She was a lot better 2-back when she really had something to run at. And came with a big finish in there. I don't know, Dad. She's just really reliable. Maybe this race won't set up that well for her, but there's at least a chance that that November Rain and Bank Sting both go forward here, do a little bit of racing. And if they do, it's going to help this horse.
If you think the pace is going to be slow, Mike, do you think there's a chance that the 3 Know-It-All Audrey gets forward under the hot riding Manny Franco? As we watch her last race, it was a 1-turn mile. Maybe the pace wasn't the fastest, but she showed a willingness to get forward, and she's shown a willingness to get forward in some of her prior races. This race, she only faces 3 others over a wet track, and she's an odds-on favorite, but she's won 4 of her last 6, and she does have positional speed.
Yeah, I mean, your point's well taken about the way that this race might shape up, and certainly she's probably fast enough to at least be close to this pace. I don't know if she can outrun those other 2 horses to the lead, but maybe they'll try it. She's clearly in the best form of her career. They're going to try another stakes race with her here. Personally, I think this is going to wind up being a little bit too tough for her, but I won't knock her current form.
Bank Sting, the number 4, is the horse to beat. She's won 8 of 14. As Mike mentioned, she excels at 7 ace with a 4 for 5 record on the main track, and she does great work at Aqueduct. Here's her most recent start, the grade 3 Go for Juan. She just chased Dr. B throughout over this sloppy track. Dr. B just freaked this day for a Butch Reed barn that was going very well at the time. Bank Sting showed no quit in this race. She ran second. I think the Go for Juan that day was actually faster than the Cigar Mile.
Yeah, she actually runs well in here. This leader just never stopped, Dan, and didn't give her a real chance. But I thought Banksting ran her race this day. It just happened to only be second best here. Now, she's finished second in 3 of her last 4 starts. I personally feel like she's run well in all of them and just happened not to win. The Iroquois 2-back, I didn't think she had a big excuse, but she was wide in that race. She was also off about a 4-month layoff. So maybe that just wasn't her best performance. I think she's the horse to beat in here. But if you tell me you want to, take some kind of shot against her at a short price, I won't argue too hard.
The number 5, Funny How, is going to be taking a step up in class, but she certainly deserves an opportunity against stakes horses based on her overall body of work. She's won her last 4 races, and she beat open first-level allowance horses in her most recent start. The third-place horse came back to place at that level with a 73 buyer. While her buyer regressed last time out, the number she earned 2 starts back in a very likable victory, that puts her in the mix.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. And maybe that's the race that she can build off of here as she tries to step up in class. Again, it's not easy to do what this filly's done, Dan. Went right through her conditions and then stepped up into an open race and won again the last win over this distance. She got a really good trip in that race, but got the job done again. Another one, Dan, I feel like this is a pretty tough spot for her, but she's got forward to go, and I'm not going to knock her too hard.
Completing the field is the number 6, Honey Money, a 9-time winner who's banked almost $500,000 the hard way. She's stepping up into the stakes ranks off this victory when entered for a $45,000 tag against New York breds going a 1-turn mile. She makes the lead here and is very confidently handled to draw away and win by 4. Very high percentage barn, Rob Actress at a price.
Yeah, Actress just sending out nothing but live horses right now. We'll see if he can get this mare to take a huge step forward. This is the best race she's ever run, Dan. Second start out for Actress. Just wins easily with only a 79 buyer, though. We'll see how much more Actress can get her to improve, because she's got to improve by a lot. Betsy Blue buried her 3 times last year, as did Funny How. It just feels like a really tough spot for her.
Top pick time for Sunday's feature race at Aqueduct. It's the Broadway. Mike's going with the horse to beat. Banksting earned a 96 buyer last time out. She runs anything close to that, she's just going to win.
Yeah, I just think it's a good spot for her, Dan. I'm not against your horse that you have on top. I think she's interesting, especially at the morning line odds, and I think that they'll just try to make the lead with her. I just kind of feel like Banksting's the better horse.
I'm hoping she can get to the front in here. I do think she has a little bit more upside than Banksting. I am concerned about her last race at Laurel. It wasn't very good. Maybe this little freshening will help her get back to that race 2-back where she beat Banksting at a price. 4-2-1-5 for Mike, 1-4-5-3 for me. It's the Broadway on Super Bowl Sunday. Good luck.